Welcome to CRM Stories with me, Jerome Clatworthy. CRM Stories is a podcast where we speak with Salesforce professionals from all over the world about their careers and favorite Salesforce case studies. Today we're speaking with Dustin Cole from Navigators. Dustin, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, great to be with you. Thanks for inviting me here.
No worries. So Dustin, where in the world are you sitting as we have this chat today?
I am in the suburbia of Orange County.
Okay.
Basically, just think of the flattest, rows of housing.
Yeah.
Single story, like single family housing. I got a wife, two kids, and a golden retriever, and just. I always imagined myself living in the city or in Africa or something, but somehow I ended up in the opposite of that. I can't complain. It's a good life, but it is very typical Southern California, Orange County.
Right. Is that where you grew up or somewhere you've moved to later in life?
Yeah, well, I grew up in San Diego, so I didn't go very far. I did spend a stint living in Korea and Northern California and Los Angeles, but I ended up here somewhere in between Los Angeles and San Diego.
Yeah, right. Cool. And how did you get started in the Salesforce ecosystem? Were you already in that sort of space and then you just specialized in this as a product, or it was sort of a whole new sort of career change for you? What's up?
Yeah, so I started as many people do, as an accidental admin. I was working as a finance manager at a nonprofit, and I found myself as the controller of all data. So it was a fairly good-sized nonprofit, somewhere around $10 million expenses, and the development team would come to me asking how much did John Smith give over the last 5 years, and so every day I was running these reports, these one-up reports for everyone. And I thought, this is crazy. There must be a better way. And so that led me to Salesforce, and they allowed me to, they asked me to implement, or no, I asked them if I could implement it, which, was a much bigger project than I or anyone had expected it to be. And, so we got a quote from a consultant for like $25,000 for an implementation. The executive director laughed in my face, and so I ended up doing it myself. And of course, I botched it over and over. And but that was eight years ago or so, and I still admin for that nonprofit. Still really good friends with them. And so I've had the opportunity to fix it and rework it and change it for the last 8 years or so.
Okay. And so what sort of, obviously, so start off as their sort of sole admin. What other roles have you had that have led you to this point now?
Yeah, so that was the admin. And then I did a stint at the Marshall School of Business at USC, where I was working with a whole bunch of different departments there. And then after that, I moved into consulting, working mainly with nonprofits. And I've been doing consulting ever since, except for a stint as an IT director for a couple of years.
Okay.
That was really cool nonprofit that does a lot of reforestation.
Okay.
And we had a huge Salesforce instance there that I got to be a big part of. And
are they typically sort of fundraising scenarios, or just running their whole operations, or mostly in the fundraising side of things, like using Salesforce?
Are you talking about that specific nonprofit,
or in general, all the ones you worked on over the years?
Yeah, so I've mainly been working with nonprofits, and nonprofits tend to start with development fundraising, which is often one of their biggest needs, and usually the first department that needs to move on to Salesforce. And Salesforce is a great product for it, called Nonprofit Success Expert, and so you can kind of just turn that on, do some light configuration, and they're ready to go. Plug in some third-party services, and they're ready to go. And you can do a quick start with a nonprofit in 20 hours of work or so, if there's not too much data migration. But there's a whole bunch of other things that nonprofits need to do. They need to do marketing automation. They need to do often they want to do program management. Program management can have all ranges of complications, or not complications, but complexity, because every program is different, right? So they could be running a daycare, they could be doing a food bank, and then there's all sorts of processes and challenges around doing program implementation. And Salesforce does have a program management module. It's actually called program management module. but it doesn't always. It's so hard to build an architecture for something that has an infinite number of business processes. So there's always a large amount of configuration and an optimization around program management for
Yeah.
nonprofits.
Slightly off topic, but just out of my personal interest, have you done much with non-profit cloud yet, or are you still mostly with non-profit service pack?
So we started our company a little bit less than 2 years ago, and nonprofit cloud came about a year ago.
Yeah.
And I personally, I had one project, and I was really getting into nonprofit cloud, and it was very early on, and the documentation was just abysmal at
Yeah.
that point. They've been
Yeah.
improving it
Yeah.
since then. But ever since that first experience trying to get that project off the ground, I've determined that I'm not going to learn nonprofit cloud, me personally.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's because my role at my company now is more in
Yeah,
sales,
sure.
marketing, and
Yep.
and operations, and I have
Yep.
plenty of clients still that I'm
Yep.
doing work with NPSP and all that. So I'm trying my best not to learn it. I think some point in the future I will.
Yeah, sure.
But Haley, my partner, head of services, and the other people at my company are neck deep in nonprofit cloud, and it's we really pride ourselves on being one of the first or taking on that challenge. I think a little bit earlier than some other partners have.
Okay, cool. All right, great. So currently, as you said, so marketing, operations, overseeing, sort of making sure the work gets done as opposed to being on the keyboard yourself. Is that sort of the role now? So
that's supposed to be it, but really I spend 40 hours doing, not 40 hours, maybe 30 hours a week doing actual delivery and client work.
So
maybe
two full-time jobs then.
Yeah, exactly. I actually do very little marketing.
Okay.
But a lot of operations stuff. I mean, starting a new company, there's a lot of figuring out how to work healthcare and
sure,
how to do payroll and all that stuff is new to me. So that takes up a good chunk of my time too.
Yeah. And how big is the team currently with Navigators?
Currently, we are 4. So myself, and my partner, 2 more, and then we're bringing on 2 more here sometime this month. We just got a acceptance from someone yesterday. So we're super excited about that, and we're looking to bring on someone else. Yeah, we are currently snowed over, drowning in work, and so we really need to bring at least 2 people on right away.
Oh, fantastic! Good news.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on this podcast, we love to talk about case studies about times where people sort of use Salesforce had a massive impact on a business or organization, and then also talk about one that you've just found personally fascinating. Then also talk about one which maybe didn't go so well, or something that didn't go well, and sort of what you learned from that. Do you mind if we start talking about some case studies now?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to.
So firstly, can you think of in your career or even something you've heard of where, the Salesforce implementation has had a massive impact on a business in terms of revenue or donations or operations in some form? Does anything come to mind?
Well, there's quite a few that, we really like the big impact from a very fresh and small, limited Salesforce implementation. So we've had several instances where we do, in development teams for mid to small size nonprofits, the development teams are only 2 to 8 people, and you can really get them off the ground within a month or two just by setting them up, data migration, training, setting up reports. It's pretty simple stuff. Not that, I mean, we have plenty of larger projects, but there's so much impact from a fresh instant when people come off of Excel sheets, when they come off of just like not knowing the history of any of their donors, and then they have all of the history of their donors, and they can run a report that says, who gave last year that hasn't given yet this year. Really basic CRM donor management stuff, and they go from nothing or things that take hours to things that are available on their homepage right when they log in. And then it's always, these teams are fairly cash strapped, right? And so they go from having nothing to having all this information available in these processes and automations, and they can finally start utilizing their data. And so we get to see a lot of those huge wins off of smaller teams freshly put onto Salesforce. Unfortunately, actually, that's not too much of our work. We get a lot of work trying to fix Salesforce or fix past development work, right?
Yeah.
That's quite a bit of our work, but I really like those fresh installs.
And what do
I
you find?
also
So part of the
yeah.
benefits is just digital transformation benefits in general, where they're going from, spreadsheets all over the place through to a single system where it's all there and, the key information is highlighted, as you said, on that first page when they log in. Is that the sort of key benefit in those scenarios? Is that...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
exactly right.
And for those, in that fundraising space, is it what makes the most impact that you've seen? Is it the fact that they can then see, oh yeah, John gave us 10,000 last year, he's done nothing this year. That's a high priority phone call for us to make today. Is it that kind of just make it so simple to see that, oh yeah, this person is a really regular donor, but it wasn't that clear in my mind. So I've been wasting my time on someone who may not be as a fruitful of a donor, to sort of just really focus their resources on the highest likelihood sort of tasks. Is it just that simple, essentially?
Yeah, it's that simple, and it's the whole 360-degree view of a individual being able to actually have the data in one place and all connected together, so they can see that this person has a relationship with this board member, and so we can get that board member to talk to this person to arrange the donation. So it's just centralizing, getting all that info in one place that they can actually utilize it, or they can utilize it in a better way that they don't have to spend so much time looking up that data, because they want to do a lot of this work, but they're time limited, so they can't do it. So having a proper Salesforce implementation, they can actually utilize it on a larger scale instead of focusing. And a lot of small nonprofit development teams that just start focusing, or they are often limited to focusing on their highest donors because that's all they have time for. But once they have the data usable, they can actually spread that out to some of the medium sized and smaller sized donor and try to work them up the kind of up the pyramid of engagement to
and start doing some list-based emails, and we start getting a lot more effective with their time. Yeah, cool. And when you do those implementations, is it pretty straightforward? MPSP plus Sales Cloud. Is there any other sort of apps that you tend to add on in general that you've sort of found useful, or is it pretty straightforward, out of the box type stuff?
Oh yeah, there's definitely a list of apps that we typically go to. Most nonprofits need an online donation service. So Give Lively is a great one. Classy is a good one. Salesforce used to have one called Elevate, and they just killed it. So there's always that. Almost all of my clients have a form tool. Because form tools always have needs and have so much ROI in terms of getting data in the system. Whether it's for webinar registrations, event registrations, contact us forms, stuff like that. So form assembly, form stack, job form, gravity form sometimes. And then document generation is a big one. Tax receipts. So we love AppSona. Barstack's a great one. Conga if I have to. I think that's cool. Those are the main ones.
That covers it pretty well. And I guess just from your personal point of view, is there a project you've been involved with that you just personally found super fascinating, that just really was interesting to you for whatever reason, regardless of the business impact? Was there?
Yeah. Currently, I'm working with the Goodwill of North Florida. They're really cool, Goodwill. And I think what people don't typically know about Goodwills is that the front-facing store is actually it's not the main. Well, I guess it is one of their main parts of their business, but they do so much work on top of that. So they do a lot of workforce development and people training. So they have the store so that they can hire people to employ them there, but they also do a whole bunch of other work on top of that. And so one thing that I'm working with them on is they have a landscaping business. You wouldn't think a Goodwill would have a landscaping business, but that's part of their employment, right? They want to help these people get jobs, and they employ themselves and have them go out and cut grass, do irrigation work, do pest control.
Interesting. So is it the branding similar to Goodwill, or it's a totally different? So if we saw the trailer drive past, we wouldn't recognize it, or is it typically under that Goodwill sort of terminology still when they're doing those other things?
It's called Landscaping Consultants. I forget what the I stands for, LCI.
Yeah, sure.
But it's co-branded. Yeah, so you would you would see it and know it. If you saw the invoice, it has both Goodwill and LCI
Yeah, right.
on it. But the build that we're doing for them, it's total field service management. So
Oh,
they
really?
have 10 trucks. The trucks
Are
come
you
in every
kidding?
day, have 5 jobs to do that day. And so we've built this whole system in Salesforce to schedule the trucks, do routing,
Really?
send them out and have them log build estimates, control invoices, the whole field service
Really?
management business. It's all for that Goodwill.
I've never had a chance to play with field service, but it looks like it's a really interesting cloud I've wanted to sort of have a go with. Have you done much field service management, or just been one of the first opportunities?
I've actually done something similar for another company,
Okay.
but actually we're not using Salesforce's field service management because it's kind of a beast of a
Yeah.
system, and for just 10 trucks, it's kind of like killing a fly with a sledgehammer.
Yeah. So just
Yes.
taking those principles, so more of a custom build, or is there an app that's been good for that, or is it?
Yeah, it's a custom build, but there's an app that I've been using for this. It's called Dayback. It's
Okay.
a calendaring application actually, but it's great for resource management and then their development team is really awesome. So their development team can assist with things like setting up like routing and scheduling, and they can do a lot of stuff with this program. Yeah, it's actually an incredible calendar. Like Salesforce's calendaring system is pretty weak.
Okay. Like Salesforce Scheduler. Is that what it's called?
What?
Salesforce Scheduler, like their Salesforce Scheduler, their license. Is that what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Actually, their scheduler, I haven't played around with too much, but I'm just talking about their calendar, like this normal Salesforce calendar.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So Dayback is quite low cost.
Yeah, right.
You can pull from any object in Salesforce and display it on a calendar, but there's so much more that can go into it in terms of customization, and you could really take it anywhere you want with custom code as well.
Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff you can do programmatically, and then there's a lot of stuff like your dev team could do with that product. But then also their in-house dev team is very, very good as well. So yeah, it's definitely a product that I highly recommend.
Yeah, sure. Oh, fantastic. And did they come to you saying this is what we want to use, or that was part of your process, was to, I guess, find that solution and put that forward in terms of Dayback and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, I used Dayback for a previous client and really liked it, so I recommended it for this one.
Yeah, nice. Fantastic. Oh, that is really interesting. I did not know Goodwill was sort of doing that other thing as well.
Yeah.
All right. Now, in terms of another case study, is there an example you could think of where maybe things really didn't go so well, and then maybe lessons learned and what you do differently as a result?
Yeah, for sure. Probably the one project that I really dropped the ball on, or had struggled with, maybe I should say, was a Razor's Edge to Salesforce migration. And Razor's Edge is a product by a company called Blackbot, and it's probably the second most popular donation management system.
Okay.
And it's so it's got quite a reach, but there are a lot of Razor's Edge to Salesforce migrations out there. But the thing about Razor's Edge is that the data model is extremely different from Salesforce, and so the migration can be really difficult if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, sure.
Which I certainly didn't. And at the time, I was working at at another consulting firm, and I had done this project, and there were some other people at the firm that had done some migrations. But just the way that firm worked, there wasn't too much collaboration going on. So if one person was assigned to a project, that's you're pretty much, you got to figure it out yourself. And
oh, really? Was that just people were so busy on their own thing, or there was like, I don't know, privacy sort of things, or was it just everyone was just focused on their own? What was underlying that?
I think it's just a culture of I don't know, do it on your own,
self-sufficiency.
Yeah, and I think it was also my fault for not raising a flag and calling it out earlier and making more of us think about it. But yeah, that project didn't go so well, and had to be rescued by someone else at the firm eventually. So it did turn out okay in the end, but
Yeah.
it didn't go great. But I did learn a lot about systems and data migration. And
Okay.
my partner Haley, who is our head of services and is way more technically talented and savvy than I
Okay.
am,
Yeah.
she really prides herself on data migrations, and she has a whole presentation on it. And there is a long process and system that you need to follow when you're doing a proper systems and data migration.
Yeah. Right.
And yeah, I'm really glad that now we have a thorough guide. Yeah, we have a
Okay.
whole process around it, and our company has a great knowledge base, and
Hmm.
we're super collaborative, and no one is out there on their own, and we're trying to build a culture that's to try to not have something like that happen. And it's inevitable if the project manager, if someone like me, doesn't actually reach out,
Yeah.
But yeah, we are trying to avoid that from happening.
Yeah. So it sounds like, I guess, learning's two-pronged. On the technical side, it's learnings about data migration, and you've sort of addressed that by having thorough processes and SOPs around that. And then secondly, the other thing is, creating that culture of, if you're having a problem, shout out, let's all figure it out together, as opposed to don't struggle on your own and fall over because you're not getting any help with something that you haven't been properly prepared to do.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also make sure we staff all of our projects with at least two people, and
Okay.
the supervisor, the delivery manager, is just as engaged on the project as the project manager, the primary
Yeah, sure.
point person. So in that
Yeah,
way, we
okay.
have some accountability and
Yeah, sure.
and
So
supervision.
multiple sets of eyes seeing how things are going. So if one person doesn't see the problem, the other one might, to just increase the chance of, or decrease the chance of something going very badly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it costs more for the clients,
Yeah,
and
sure.
because it takes more of our time, but
Yep.
it's so much. It's not just one plus one equals two. It's way more than that.
Yeah,
The end result, and so it's a much better quality of service.
absolutely. Sure. All right. Well, I appreciate those case studies. That was really interesting. As we sort of get towards the end, I just want to geek out on a few technical questions, if that's all right. So,
Sure.
firstly, iPhone or Android? Where do you sit?
iPhone for sure.
Okay. All right. Mac or PC?
Mac usually, though.
Okay.
I
What does
really
that
like
mean?
PCs now too. Um,
Okay.
yeah, usually Mac, but I have a PC for gaming, and
Okay.
yeah, I like it a lot.
What's your gaming PC specs? What do you got under the hood?
It's nothing fancy. It's
Okay.
the only game I play is Dota.
Okay.
I just don't have
I haven't heard
time.
of that.
I have a
Yeah,
1 and a 3-year-old in a business, and like
I get it.
yeah, sometimes maybe once a month I can play with my brother for a couple hours, but it's
Yeah, right.
yeah, it doesn't. I don't get to play as much right now, unfortunately.
Understood. And in-house at Navigators, how do you guys sort of communicate, or how do you manage your projects? What's your tech stack in that sense?
Yeah, so a lot of our stuff is in Salesforce. Obviously, Slack is our primary communication tool.
Okay.
We use Confluence for internal documentation. We're actually
Okay.
rolling it out for client documentation too.
Right.
Client documentation is, I think, one of the biggest things that I've seen other partners fail at. And
Okay.
so
Just leaving them with a handbook to how to use the system when you're gone, sort of thing, like that.
yeah, absolutely. So all of our configuration is documented.
Okay.
Mostly we build admin guides. So it's like, how did we
Yeah.
build this? Why did we build it? And if we came along in 2 years and forgot, or someone else comes along, how are they
Yeah.
going to maintain it? So we use Confluence we don't use Confluence for client documentation now, but we will.
Yep.
What else do we use? We use Todoist for
Okay.
internal task management.
Yep.
It's quite simple, but it gets the job done, and I like it a lot.
Okay.
And then, Google Workspace. We use a lot of Loom. We love creating quick Loom videos for documentation, or just like
Okay.
how to do something. It's a great way to create a quick video.
And is that just now it's got the integration with Jira, Confluence? Does that make that even easier? Is that or you were sort of using them separately already?
Yeah, we haven't used that. We just
Okay.
we haven't used that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, I do find it super handy as well.
Yeah.
And if you were CEO of Salesforce for a day, you could wave your magic wand, or is there sort of a single bugbear that you would fix, or a new feature you'd roll out if you were in charge of Salesforce products?
I would not announce products until they're ready to launch.
Yeah, right.
Maybe I would get them to stop talking about AI for another like 2 years until there's actual especially for nonprofits. Things tend to
Mhm.
roll out to like Nike and Adidas and
Yeah,
um, those flagship firms
yeah,
first, and then we get the keynotes that look incredible, and then
yeah,
maybe 10 years down the line a nonprofit will see a product that is somewhat affordable.
yeah,
So I kind of wish they would stop doing that.
yeah, right. And in terms of AI, what I was going to ask that as well. What do you think? Do you think it's having an impact now, or how long do you think until it really changes the day-to-day work of a Salesforce admin? Or do you think it already has? What do you
I'm not sure. I haven't seen too much yet that convinces me that it's, especially in the nonprofit space, that
Yeah,
it's
sure.
it's useful yet. I'm sure one day it will be, and I love seeing ChatGPT just kind of
Mhm.
integrated into a lot of different things. I think that's really cool. But
Yeah,
I'll be really excited um, when you can build reports through text inputs,
yeah,
and
okay.
or it can provide guidance on data architecture and data collection. So yeah, I don't really see it right now, but I'm sure more and more things will open up in the next few years.
So when sort of plain language can be converted to a really meaty sort of SQL command and really get the exact data they want in the way they want it, you'd be pretty excited to see that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
But the hard part about running reports is not
knowing
the
what you want,
building of the reports.
being
It's
clear in
the
what you need.
yeah, it's all the stuff that comes before it. It's the data collection. It's what do we put in the forms? What do we ask people when
Yeah,
we give them a phone call? We enter that, and then we have to build the data architecture, and the report building comes at the very end. So I don't even know how AI can help with that,
yeah. If
really. But
it's got bad data to work with, it's not going to be much use.
yeah.
Cool. And I think you mentioned it earlier in terms of, I guess, some of your work is inheriting existing orgs and sort of fixing up some messes. What do you find, I guess, when you take on a job of an existing org? Is there some common themes of, I guess, mistakes or poor implementations that you've sort of witnessed that you think people should be aware of when they're doing new implementations?
Yeah, I think in general, people tend to over automate.
Okay.
There's a lot of I see the temptation, right? It's so nice to solve a problem for a client by creating a button or
Uh-huh.
creating some type of automation,
Uh-huh.
um, some validation rules, right? But the thing is that every time you build an automation, first of all, it costs money. So the consultants it's costing
Uh-huh.
money, or whoever's building it, and then you create technical debt. So you're baking into that uh, org that specific process, but a lot of orgs change very quickly.
Mm.
New staff come in, want to do something different. They want to change up their data model or something.
Yeah.
So I always tell clients I can say I can build this, but you got to realize that there's always going to be some technical debt here. And if you guys change your mind in a couple months, we're going to have to come back and kind of pull this all apart.
Yeah, right.
And
Okay.
and that's what we do a lot is that you know someone hits an error, they come to us and they're like, well, there's this big automation, and they're like, we've never heard of that. So we have to unravel that. We have to
Yeah.
audit the fields. Are the fields being used? No, maybe. Can we delete them? Maybe. And so we spend a lot of time doing that. So
Yeah, right.
I always advise my clients, maybe let's hold off on that, and let's do your process manually for a while. And if you
Okay.
guys really want that automation in 1 month,
Okay.
then we'll build it. We get a little bit less work from that, but
Yeah.
that's totally fine. It's much better to slow down on automations and builds and go slow on that rather than build quick and then
Yeah,
have
okay.
to unravel it later on.
So your philosophy tends to be start smaller and sort of let them get them in the system and start doing their work a little bit, and then sort of get a feel for it, get a thermometer, and then all right, from here, what's going to be the biggest value add in terms of the next thing that we can make easier for you and quicker for you, as opposed to all right, here's our 10 things, we're going to build it all and see you later. Good luck.
For sure. Yeah, especially when it's a fresh build. I always want them to work in the system for a while so that
Mm.
they are sure about their systems, data collection and processes, and actually so they're working in it. And then when they find out what their real pain points are, what their
Yeah.
repetitive tasks are, then we can build those automations.
Yeah, perfect. Agree. How many hours do you think you're working a week on average? What would you guess?
I'm only working about 40 hours a week,
Okay.
and that's because when I have to get my kids are 1 and 3, like I said, and so in the morning I'm getting them ready. I have to make their lunches. It takes
Yeah.
like an hour and a half of both, maybe an hour if me and my wife are both working, just
Yeah.
to get them changed, cleaned up. We have to make their lunches. So
Yeah.
the morning is packed. Then I take them to school, come home, and then
Yeah.
I can work, and then I pick them up at 4:30.
Yeah.
And then after that, if I even look at the computer, my wife is like, she's upset with me. So I
Yeah. Right.
might be able to get some more work done after 8:30 after they go
Okay.
down. But at that point, I'm just tired. So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't like to
So
do that unless I really
keeping
have
it pretty
to.
respectable business hours for the most part.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah. So I'm probably averaging around 40.
Yeah, sure. And what's the perfect day from your point of view? Like door locked and tapping away the computer, or you want to be on the phone, talking with clients, out and about, having conversations? What's your sort of preferred mode of operation, or a bit of both?
I used to love doing Salesforce configuration and doing Salesforce builds. Not as much anymore. I really
Okay.
like talking to clients, talking to new potential clients, talking about their processes, their pain points, and
Yeah. Okay.
how we can solve it. So I love doing initial discovery and writing up project plans and proposals and
Okay.
taking meetings. I know Haley, my partner, loves just heads down, just don't bother
Yeah.
me, do not disturb us on, and she can do that all day long. That would
Yeah.
drive
Right.
me crazy. I'm on the other hand, I can do meetings all day, and I'll
Really?
thrive in that role. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Fantastic. And so, are you guys working from home then? Is that the situation? You don't have an office external? Is that and
Yeah,
that
we're
works all right?
all.
I guess if your kids are away at daycare or whatever, that would work all right. No disruptions.
Yeah, we're all.
Yeah. Nice one. All right. Well, that is my interrogation complete. I appreciate your time. Take the chance to tell us all about Navigators and what you guys can do for people.
Sure. Yeah. So Navigators is a Salesforce partner. We have try to have taken all the stuff we've learned from our previous consulting roles and working in companies in Salesforce and just do it a little bit better. We really focus on client training and documentation and empowerment. We really focus on trying to give the best advice and most transparent advice we can. And we've seen a lot of success. We've been really thankful to have a lot of our old clients come back to us, see a lot of referrals. We don't do any paid or not much paid marketing, and it's all word of mouth. And it's been a really, really great journey. The first 6 months was a little scary.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Yeah, really scary, but it's been really, really thriving lately, and we're kind of building. I think we're hitting our stride this year in terms of really solidifying our processes.
Yeah.
And we've got a great team. We've got 2 just absolutely awesome employees, and we've got a few more coming in that we think are very, very high potential. And it's been really great. And most importantly, we've got to see a lot of clients just really, really thrive and have their technology and organizations be empowered through our partnership. And we've also really enjoyed moving from a project-based model. We still do a lot of project work where we do full scoping and project life cycle, but more than half of our business at this point is what we call expert on demand, which is a managed services subscription style where organizations subscribe for a certain number of hours a month, and then we are just their external administrators. And we really like that kind of work because our goal is to be navigators. Basically, we are the organization's support, and we will help them get to where they want to go. And
is that typically like, really small orgs where they just don't have an IT team at all, and you guys are their IT team, or they've got one but you guys just do the Salesforce side, or all the above sort of thing?
It really depends. Most of them are smaller, but we have some clients at the 40 hours a month range.
Yep.
So it's just kind of like
Yeah, right.
that
Interesting.
thresholds of where it might make sense for them to hire an internal administrator. But even if someone hires an internal administrator, it's not guaranteed that they would get the level of service that they would get with someone like us, because we
Yeah.
have a deeper bench of talent we can pull from.
Yeah.
You know, a whole group of people that can support them.
And you've got that background. If you were there you built it from the ground up in a lot of cases, then you've got that understanding of their platform and the data model, and they don't have to go through that whole process of a new person coming and learning the org and then starting the work. So you're ready to go.
Yeah. But we also work with a lot of internal administrators too.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is great, because that's even better, actually. We
So
love
they can
working
do the
with internal
day-to-day,
admins.
add new users, all the really straightforward stuff, and then you guys can sort of come in and out for the more complex and bigger things.
Yeah, exactly. And then a lot of what we offer is just guidance. You know,
Yeah, right.
Keeping that door open for questions like, "Hey, I'm thinking about this
Yeah.
problem. You know, what are your thoughts on Salesforce Maps or something like that?" And we can offer that kind of guidance.
And where did the Navigators name come from? Is that got a specific meaning, or just something that neatly mapped the way you think about the process?
Yeah, it's actually, it came from an aviation theme. Me and Haley are both big aviation enthusiasts. Haley spent 20 years in the Navy as a air crewman, so she was doing flight missions as a cryptographer and intelligence analyst over Afghanistan. So she spent a lot of time in airplanes, and then I got my private pilot's license about 2 years ago. So I've been really,
congratulations.
I love flying, and I just love aviation in general, and so that's where the name came from, was that shared passion.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, and how do people get in touch with you if they want to talk more?
Yeah, my email is great, dustin.cole@crmnavigators.com. You can also go to the website.com and find our contact information. Also on Twitter at Dustin M. Cole, and LinkedIn is also a great place. You can just search for me and find me there too.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for your time, Dustin. Really appreciate it. I'll finish up with one last question of what's something exciting coming up for you, either in work or outside of work? Anything interesting on the horizon?
Oh man, I can't wait until my youngest daughter stops crying all day, every day. I know that doesn't sound that exciting, but she's like, I feel like she's almost there. She's 15 months.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the threshold with my older one, that she stopped just being like a huge amount of work.
Yeah.
That's the nicer way to put that. So I know most people won't really, the fathers will, or the parents will understand. But
I understand.
I know that's super exciting, but I can't wait for that.
All right. Well, again, thanks so much for your time, Dustin. Really appreciate it, and all the best with Navigators.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jerome. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
See you.